Imposter syndrome impacts a lot of people. And if you have someone in your life who's talking to you about it but feel confused how to address it or how to help them, check out this video. I'll talk about some mistakes to avoid and 5 steps to take to more helpfully talk to someone about their imposter syndrome. Let's say a friend or a colleague or a student or someone reporting to you comes to you and tells you about their imposter syndrome. And they might not use that term. They might talk about not feeling good enough, feeling like they don't belong, feeling like they're a fraud, or that there's something wrong with them underneath and that they just don't feel good about who they are, what they're doing. So these are some of the things or some of the language that people use. They might say, wait until people find out who I truly am, or I got here by accident. They must have made a mistake hiring me. So those are all good and strong indicators. And if you want to learn a little bit more about what imposter syndrome is, check out my video about how to address imposter syndrome. I'll talk about some of the reasons in there as well. The number one thing you want to avoid when someone comes to talk to you about it is to invalidate them. So what does that mean? Invalidation can be very well-meaning. It can come from a place of wanting them to feel better. For example, like, oh no, you're great. Or no, why you don't feel this way? You're just such a great friend or employee or direct report or student or whatever it might be. And while well-meaning, actually what you're saying is that they shouldn't feel this way, or that somehow their feelings are wrong or incorrect. And that's invalidating, even if it comes from a good space or from a good place. Chances are, if you're listening to this video, you want to do it well and you're coming from a good place. Of course, there's the more overt invalidation of like, well, that's just bullshit, right? But I don't think that's something that you are doing listening to this. So remember that imposter syndrome has very real reasons and is often rooted in past experiences, or has reasons of feeling like you are an outsider. Let's say someone is the only woman or the only man in a department full of the opposite gender. Now, someone is the first person in their family to go to college. Again, check out my video about how to address imposter syndrome. I'll talk about some of these reasons. Validation does not mean that you're agreeing. This is really important because often people get hung up, well, if I validate, I agree with that person. Not so. It simply means that you hear what the person is telling you, especially the emotional content. You hear them. And that could be a simple statement that you can make. I hear you. I see that this is distressing. I get it. Tell me more. So instead of arguing against them, no, you're great. You really tell them, okay, I get it. I get that this is difficult for you or distressing or whatever the feeling might be. Why is that important? Well, first of all, the feelings are real for that person. That is what they're feeling in the moment. It's not a matter of an objective truth or rational, performance. It is how they're feeling. And again, it might be founded in real experiences. Second, validation has a calming effect on the nervous system. If I'm in an emotional state and someone says, I hear you, I get you, my nervous system immediately calms down. Why is that important? If we're in a calm state, we're more receptive to new information, meaning we can learn or we can reframe much better than when we're agitated or upset. And that's really important. So validate, let them know that they're not alone. Many famous people suffer from imposter syndrome. Chances are you know other people. Chances are there are other people in your friend group, your work, your department, whatever it might be, that suffer from imposter syndrome. Second, after you've validated and avoided the mistake of invalidation, seek to understand it a little bit better. So second mistake we often make is we want to jump in and fix it. Now we hear something and maybe we like that person, we see they're struggling, and we just want to fix it. But again, that can be invalidating and we don't know exactly what the reasons are. So understand a little bit better what they're feeling and why. So for example, you can ask, tell me more. Or did something happen recently that kind of triggered that? Or maybe at work, something happened with a coworker and now this person sort of feels like they don't belong, or it's just something is off. And again, here it depends on who you are. If this is a friend, they might bare their soul to you. If this is a direct report or a coworker, it might be a little bit of a different discussion. This is up to you to manage that and kind of don't probe too deeply if it's not appropriate, but seek to understand a little bit. Have you always felt that way? Or things like that. And then again, that again gives the person a sense that you're hearing them, you're seeking to be an ally to help them really address this rather than just sort of applying a quick fix band-aid. Third, then when you feel that, okay, they have heard, or when they feel rather that you've heard them, I should say, and are not just trying to fix, ask if you can offer another perspective. Ask if you can help them change how they're feeling. If you can offer a different view that maybe, gives them different information than what they have or what they're focusing on right this moment. And asking for permission is very powerful, because if the person says yes, which chances are they will because they're coming to you, they're again in a more receptive state, more able to hear you, and therefore more able to actually change and integrate new information, which is what change is all about. If you want to help someone change, they need to be able to take that information in. And if they're in a calm, validated state, they're much more able to do that. Good. So third, ask for permission. Fourth, when they have given permission, you can share how you see them. You can give some specific feedback. Emphasis on specific. Don't just say, oh no, you're great. Be very specific. What makes them great? What are things they're contributing? If it's at work, how they're adding to the project, the department, the product, whatever it might be. If they're a friend, tell them what makes them a great friend. Depending on what area they feel concerned about, if it's life in general or specific areas, be very specific in your feedback. Really tell them specifically what makes them good or what you see about them that you like, that you appreciate, that's valuable, whatever it might be. Specific is great because if we hear, oh, you're great, our mind has really nothing to latch onto. Good. So if you have suffered yourself from imposter syndrome, this would be a great place to share it. If you've developed some tools and skills to overcome it, also a great place to share that. And if in general you have some tools and skills to help reframe or shift mindset or focus more on strengths and on positives, which is important with imposter syndrome, or on belonging, if they don't feel they're not belonging, if they feel they're not belonging, then that's great to share. In my other video that I've referenced a few times, I share a couple of techniques. So one is moving from the rim to the hub, the wheel technique. That's a really, really good one to talk about or to teach someone. It's very easy. You don't need to be a therapist. It's a great tool to have. You can also help them by asking them better questions and focusing on, again, more their strengths and their abilities away from this one area where they don't feel good or the sense of not belonging. And so you can ask, hey, has there been a time when you have felt like you belonged? Or what do you feel you're contributing? Or what's good about you? What do you like about yourself? Any of those questions. Again, it depends on the context you're in. Are you a friend? Are you a direct report, right? That makes a difference. Are they a direct report to you? And 5, understand that imposter syndrome is not a quick fix. This is not something you have one discussion about it, boom, and they're fixed. It's all good. They love themselves now and they see how valuable they are. It's a journey, and it might be a discussion to have several times or reminders. It might be a little bit of ongoing work. Let's say you're a manager or a teacher to that person. So this might be a discussion you have a few times, or you remind them periodically, or you give them very specific feedback about their strengths. You make sure you're inclusive. You make sure you really include that person, especially if they feel they don't belong. Put special emphasis on that without singling them out, right? We also don't want to make someone feel like, oh, we're singling them out, even if it's in a positive way. And let them know that they are where they are because they've worked for it, or who they are because they've worked for it, and then that's real, that you see them and you like them, and even though you know about their underlying insecurity or fear, you care tremendously for them and you appreciate them a lot. All right, well, I hope that was helpful. Let me know what's working for you, and thank you so much for watching. Please share, please like, please subscribe. Hope to see you again.